Okay, we are live. Morning, everybody. How's it going? Okay, so how I start out my morning. First, let me get a high-level view of the charts I have up. Actually, I have 4 monitors here. Have a 1000 volume on ES, and then plus my add-ons here. See the cumulative volume, cumulative delta, and risk manager. Risk manager is tied to the structural elements you see here on the chart. We have trade of it, where execute trades on ES, not ES, MES on the micro, whereas I am using the volume for ES, which I think if you're using an order flow tool, that's going to be the best bet. And then up above, I got news feed coming in. This morning we have news for the final services PMI, and then we got ISM. Note that we have FOMC on Wednesday. And I got some TPO charts over here for NQ and ES. And then this monitor have the volumetric for ES 20 tick chart range. And this is actually showing the full volume on the developing profile. And then the previous day. Previous day was a bank holiday, so we have lower volume over here. I'm not surprised that we observe a D shape here. And then down here we have some trading view 10-minute charts for ESNQ and YM, and then Joy. So let's ask Joy to build out the pre-market plan. Let's see here. For ESNQ, please note that the previous day, Friday, was a bank holiday, so volume is going to look muted for Friday, and the session was only open until 1 p.m. Eastern time for futures market, whereas the normal stock trading session was fully closed. And also note that today looks like we have news at 10 Eastern for the ISM services PMI and 9:45 Eastern for the final services PMI. And you probably see on the schedule we have FOMC coming up on Wednesday. Okay, we'll see what Joy comes up with this morning. Joy is built on my NinjaTrader indicator data, and she goes through multiple steps to put together the plan. She even has a little Discord output here, which is kind of nice of her. Thank you, Joy. And what I like to do, oh, she's still thinking. She's got more to say apparently, is I like to just double check the values for the key levels. That was more of an issue earlier. Now she's typically dead on. I want to check this morning because the key levels for today, based on previous sessions, might be off due to the holiday. So see, she has NQ and ES. We see for ES, we have 74.25, which I see that here. All right. And NQ looks like 30.011.25. Yeah, I see that here as well. Okay, so we are good in that respect. And previous day point of control. This I'm kind of curious around. 7558. 52. So she's up by a couple of points. No, it's actually, this is full session, actually. Let me previous session. Actually, it's down here. Oh, she's dead on. Okay. So RTA session is tracked down here. You see, we had pretty much no price action because of the bank holiday on Friday. And it looks like we've kind of been, we had a dip into liquidity. If you look at this trading view chart. See, of course, you know, the bank holiday. There's not much price action. I guess we had a move up when the market opened on Sunday, then dropped down into a range below the Thursday 60-minute opening range. And we have an overnight low, actually close to the -2 VWAP. And the low day, okay, a bit above the -1. And we see VWAP here. So right now we're hanging right around VWAP. And the previous day POC, which is, I guess, technically Friday, bank holiday, and the close. So it's pretty congested here. Okay, let's go back to Joy, see what she got to say. Okay, previous day Delta zones. We got a cluster of buyers at 29,910 on NQ, and then we have ES 7556, 7558, middle ground pivot for the session, which is the point of control. Makes sense. News assessment, we got some news here. Macro FOMC on Wednesday. Gap analysis, negligible for both instruments. Structure read, NQ bias, bearish neutral. Price is below the previous day POC. And we look at the POC on NQ. It's a bank holiday, so this is kind of negligible. You look at the Thursday regular session POC, and it is actually above that. And then ES, neutral, price is pinned to the 5-day composite. And we're close to that, and the 5-day POC is rising, but the range is too tight to call a trend at this point. Okay, scenarios. NQ, she's calling for a short at the previous day value area high POC. I don't play NQ really too often, so I really don't have a strong feeling around the plays here for NQ. But ES is something I typically will play more often. ES, Joy is saying short at prior day high, 7565. I'll mark that really quick. 7565. Oh, okay, we're right around here. I'll front run that chart alert on TradingView by a point. Apply, save. And then next one is a long at the composite val. 7497. Oh man, that's way down there, man. Hey, if we get down here, I feel like we have some bigger problems going on if we're already down here. There should have been a play already at this point. So that's interesting. Not really loving that. Okay, so I feel like there's probably some more valid opportunities here. If I look at this a little closer. To the downside, I mean, the overnight low is always an interesting play, especially now that it is at the -2 VWAP. Yeah. I feel like this could be a valid area here. Let's ask Joy about that. It's also interesting. You look at this line here. This way it'll pop into the close on Thursday, which is close to that overnight low. I feel like kind of reading a little too much into things. I think the other strong play is probably, as Joyce says up here, we got this kind of area of pivot, 75.56, which is kind of where we're at right now. So if we clear that overnight high, it's probably an opportunity to go up to the 5-day composite value area high and that previous day high up here. So let's see what Joyce say about these. Hey Joy, a couple other scenarios I'm looking at to the downside. I think the overnight low is interesting, down at 7528. I see there was a little pop into the Thursday close, right around that level, and we have the -2 VWAP down there as well at 7537. I'm also observing on my volumetric chart that there might be some interest down there as well. 753. Yeah, see there's a small demand zone down in this area here as well. So, and we had some absorbed sellers as we came into that space, hitting some previous day LVNs. Any thoughts around that? And then to the upside with the overnight high up at 7574. Since that would put us above the composite POC, if we are able to test that level and hold it, what are your thoughts around a continuation to the 5-day composite value area high and the Thursday high day up at 7593.75? Okay, see what Joyce say about this. Overnight low is 7538.25. Seller absorption to Thursday. LVNs makes us a high priority value area edge play rather than just a blind support bounce. Regarding the upside, 7574 overnight high puts us above the 5-day composite. If we hold that support, the path to 7593 Thursday high is clear because the volume profile thins out significantly above 7580. However, the demolition derby regime holding is the key. Don't chase the break. Wait for a retest and absorption. Okay, so you should add in some new scenarios here. Again, so for those who haven't been in the Discord before or watched previous videos, this idea of demolition derby, street race, Formula One is something I just came up with as an idea that I found that I was always looking to play the same strategy of leaving runners and not knowing when I should take my entire position off at the first profit target. And the analogy being, I was always going into every trading day with a Formula One race car, but I wasn't entering a Formula One race. I was entering a low volume scenario, which in my definition is a demolition derby, which is kind of what we're running into this morning. If you look at the cumulative volume indicator here, we see that volume is depressed against the 14-day moving average. We're around 132 on ES. NQ probably similar. Yeah, like 100,000 plus, which is about 14% below the 14-day look back period on the full session. So I like to see if volume is around that 14-day look back period, then it's considered more of a street race. And if we're 10% or more greater than that, then that indicates that there's probably more of a Formula One race. We can leave runners. They're more likely to hit. So this scenario, Demolition Derby, is more of a scalping scenario, or at least take off the position at that first profit target. So let me add these new scenarios here. She's cool with the long here. Add that in here. Overnight low. And she's good with the long breakout here at the overnight high. And these are a little tougher to play because you want to make sure you're not getting stuck in a head fake, peaking above that level, and then just fully retracing. So we'll really have to watch the order flow and see what happens. And short rejection off of Thursday high, 7593. Oh, interesting. Okay, she's actually getting this as a short scenario. Cool. Apply, save. So I got all my chart alerts. So the reason I set these chart alerts is so that I can not sit in my chart for every little print and get anxiety about if I should take a trade. Now I know where my setups are at. And I can expend more mental capital in those areas. I tell you what, like looking at this area right now in the pre-market, looking heavy. Looking pretty heavy. That overnight low area is interesting. Okay. Just put on some background music, huh? So people know that we're actually streaming still. And then I'm actually here live. Okay, market opens in about 13 minutes. Yeah, this looks pretty heavy. Another thing I show is while we wait, this chart here and also the volumetric chart, you'll notice there's higher highs and lower highs and these supply and demand zones. These are set up to this add-on here. So it enables me to select this chart and then select a zone. And if I want to play off of a zone, now it automatically calculates the number of contracts I can enter and where I should place my stop loss and profit target based on my predefined settings here. So I have risk reward 2-to-1, max dollar risk doing 150. And the idea is that I'm on a funded account of 1,500 max loss. And so if I divide that by 10, it's $150. I have to lose 10 days in a row at max to blow up an account. Right now, I think at $200 some away from passing the eval. So I did crank this up. Probably a little too aggressive. I really technically should be at $75 here, so I can take 2 trades today, lose it, and be a max of 150. So let's do that and show proper risk management. So yeah, I want to take a max of 2 full $75 trades. Now I might end up taking a trade and then have a partial loss on it because I closed it out before it hit that full level, but that's the idea around that. And so what happens here is you'll see when I change that dollar value here, it went from 2 contracts to 1 contract. So it's automatically calculating my risk on each trade. That's way I am risking the same dollar value on each trade. I think the challenge, with trading sometimes is we have this mental idea of entering a trade with the same number of contracts. And then when we do that, we inadvertently put our stop loss in an area where the trade is still valid. And in this case, now I can actually put the stop loss at an area where the trade is actually no longer valid, and therefore it's a valid stop loss location. And I'm not trying to pull my stop loss closer into a valid area for that scenario, just because I'm trying to trade a certain fixed number of contracts. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, we have about 10 minutes left here on the pre-market. Just need to look at the volume metric. See, we have some absorbed sellers showing up at the full session, developing value area low right here. Nope, they're gone. Look at for any signs here. I mean, the overnight low is just kind of hanging out here. I don't see any other significant areas of support or resistance that it's tied to. If I look at the 1000 volume, I feel like this looks a little more of a clear story here, where I can observe that this could potentially be a valid area where this came up here, pushed back down, and then rallied back up. It tested here once, so that could be an area of interest where we have that tested again. I think the other thing is interesting here is the multiple absorption signals here before it reversed. Other item I'm observing in the pre-market is we have this one delta here of buyers, but that really doesn't tell me too much, to be honest. I feel like at this point I'm kind of just sitting here and gonna wait to see how the market reacts at the open. I'm going to put, even though Joy didn't say this, I am going to put an opportunity for a short here as well. This is at that +2 VWAP area. Overnight high. Question mark. Non-Joy scenario. Oh, and last thing here. For Journal Zero, for Joy, part of the journal functionality that I am working with is to have an automated recording so that my journals are automatically created for each trade I take, and then a summary at the end of the day. So these, I'm going to approve all these that we went over this morning with Joy, and then hit approve. See, now I have an audio recording. Now it's initiated, and this will be stopped after a 2-hour session or once I stop it. And I typically will trade until 11 Eastern and then call it a day. You can see the different scenarios here. So what she does with that information is, if you come into the journal area and click on, let's go back. Yeah, Thursday didn't win that day, but you can see the different plays taken, and she will then give you a daily session summary because she can hear why I am looking at a certain trade and things I need to work on. Poor adherence to the plan, and I followed demolition derby sizing rules well, but didn't have strong execution logic. So things to work on here, and I feel having this definitely helps me out when I'm looking at my scenarios of play. Okay, checklist. I'm going to close this down a little bit tighter now. You see all the scenarios for yes. I think for me, what would be of interest is I'm going to put a setup for this zone down here. Wait, is it? Right now, there's no valid setup here. You see right now, this says exceeds my risk, so it's not even going to show me the scenario here. I am going to put stop buffer ticks 2 points below that. I could also, instead of selecting that zone, I could select the structure, the key level, or a structure actually. See the overnight low, and it grabs that. And then if I want to set this to at market, kind of shows where we are currently. If I set this to at level, it'll show like where that actual overnight low is. And for this, probably not going to be able to get in right at that spot, so I'll put in a ticks for a buffer. Okay, 2 minutes to the open. Good luck, everybody. Reminder, we have news 15 minutes after the open. The S&P Services PMI and composite. That can sometimes have an effect on a position, or on price rather, which could affect your position, obviously. By the way, first time live streaming here on YouTube, so if you have any suggestions around improvements or otherwise, please let me know. I am learning as I go. One minute to the open. Let me open up the scenario here on the overnight long scenario. See, Joy is seeing, the entry 7.5, 37.5. That's pretty aspirational to get in at that lower point there. So stop loss 34.5. I got mine. She got a wider losser, doesn't she? Interesting. Well, she's got a lower entry though too. Okay, market's open. We see out of the gate we got a stacked buyer volume imbalance forming on that first bar. Okay, so you should short this, but we're already kind of moving above that, so I'm going to delete this scenario. So we might be having a short opportunity here. Overnight high. We're at the +2 VWAP. See that right about here. I am looking for the overnight high right here, 7574. Oh, see that getting a larger buyer delta forming here on the volume profile. The POC is moved up here as well on the open after the first minute. We got some really strong buyers here and some seller absorption. Seller delta, buyer delta rather, and a buyer. A lot of signals here for strong buying here, which might be exhaustion print. Didn't touch the overnight high yet, but it did react to getting close to the +2 VWAP, which is interesting. Possible retest at VWAP. And the previous day point of control, which is, again, it's the bank holiday POC, so taking that with a grain of salt. Looking over the other instruments really quick. See, we did not get a similar jump on NQ, whereas the Dow looks comparably strong as the ES instrument. Okay, market's been open 2 minutes. See what happens if we give this another try. Interesting, we look at the volumetric chart by the full session. You see we have the value area low is where we were initially coming down to before the market opened. And then where this kind of held on this pullback is the full session developing POC. Again, just observing, not taking a trade as of yet. I'm going to switch this over to markets and kind of see live what's happening here. So right now my risk max is 75. Let's see if you come up here and test this overnight high. And we do see this area of strong buyers that were unable to push price higher. So this could become an area where we see resistance again as we come up to this level. But if we do get above that, you see what's kind of you have some additional clear skies up above that. Looking at this trading view chart for ES, like if we clear this, we got this 5-day valley area high up here and the opening range high from Thursday up at 7593. So still open to go long or short here, depending on how we react to this level up here. Yeah. Okay, we got some absorbed buyers here at this level again in that supply. And we got strong seller volume imbalance. And absorbed buyers here as well. It's like shy of the level I wanted tested before we have a retracement. Which doesn't make me feel comfortable jumping in this yet. Even though I'm seeing some signals that go short, I feel like the runway on that is not worth it to me. Because what? I would get in on a test of 7.567 and take it to 5.9. It's like 8-point runway at max. I don't really care for the runway to the downside right now. Unless we hit the July 2nd overnight high. Actually, well, not July 2nd. Actually, today's overnight high. It's kind of interesting this comes through here. Let's take this off really quick. Key levels here. Oh, I guess it's supposed to take it out. Interesting. It's not taking it out. Do we not touch it? I guess we haven't touched it yet. Okay, fair enough. When was this formed? 7-2. Okay, kept it for this full day, but hasn't touched it since. Okay, well, I guess it's a valid level. So here we are. Okay, swung bull VWAP. And coming back up. And a bounce right off of the previous day close. And the previous day point of control. This down here is the velocity indicator. So this is just pretty much how many bars are formed over a duration of time. And since this is a volume bar, that makes it a valid signal for just seeing velocity. In my mind, there's additional participants stepping in to take a position. Okay, this could have been a nice little short here, but again, I didn't want to really play with VWAP being so close and these other Q levels. But could be good for a scalp if anybody took that. And this low day is starting to look like a potential option now as well, doesn't it? So we have this value area low from the previous day that we're kind of playing around with. Let's pick a note here on the chart. Value area, the low day from the previous day. So wait, what day is that from here? What is it saying here? 7.5, 7.3 actually. Bank holiday. Bank holiday, low day. Okay, we're stair stepping down. Again, though, you look at what we're playing with here as far as a range. You know, we're still in this area of congestion, right? We're not really breaking out of this area. Same thing. You look at the volumetric chart. You know, just kind of we're playing around with the value area from the full session when you look about this honestly. Here's the full session value area high, full session value area low. We're just pretty much playing within those two bounds. We see from the two full sessions, we have a slight migration of the point of control upward. So value is technically migrating to the upside. But we look at these other instruments like NQ. It's failing to get above this area here from the pre-market right before the pre-market open, and same thing with the Dow. We're failing to get above this area here. Yeah, I feel like this could be just a chop area that could cut somebody up if they're not taking quick scalps. And then if we look at the volume now, from the RTH session and full session, it's about 1%. So I'd say it's street race conditions on RTH. Full session is still depressed. And if we look at the area here, we got cumulative delta volume is to the upside on the 15-minute and full session, but it's to the downside on, oh, here it's moved to the upside now. Interesting. But price is moving downward. So we might be seeing buyers slowly accumulating, but failing to move the price upward. Or you could see a passive seller just absorbing everything, looking to push things down. But I think you could say with some confidence that there are buyers present making market orders over the full session RTH session. And if we get a little peek down here, that could be interesting. So, the -2 VWAP is migrating up, so this level is starting to feel a little more relevant to me. If we come down there and see buyers stepping in. If that doesn't happen, well, then we're looking at quite possibly a test of the overnight low down here. All right, if this breaks, might move down to this level down here. I'm also observing that the VWAP is being tracked differently from NinjaTrader and TradingView. It's like this, NinjaTrader, you're tracking it from the bank holiday, whereas on TradingView, it's tracking it from the previous full session before the bank holiday, which is probably more valid in my estimation. So I think the way NinjaTrader has their order flow, VWAP might not be as accurate in this particular scenario. Usually it's good, but I think for that scenario where it's a bit odd, we have a partial session, it's hard to, I think, argue the case for the VWAP deviation point. So is even the VWAP the same on these? We got, interesting. So VWAP and TradingView is at 56, whereas NinjaTrader is at 59. Usually those are right on, so I think that bank holiday is throwing things off a bit. Oh shit, Trump is talking. I didn't realize Trump is talking. Okay, there's some slight news here. See if Joy has any thoughts on this news. Hey Joy, we just had the first bit of news released. Can you give feedback on this given the current market context? I'll feed that in and get a live update what's going on here. She gets live data, so she'll be able to see within a few minutes of where the market's at with fresh data. And the data we're using here, she's not using open, high, low, close values. She's using actual order flow tick data, so she can see absorption, things of that nature. Okay, she's saying came in slightly cold, directional bias neutral. Okay, these are misses, they're minor. Current conditions are demolition derby. True statement where, volume is below the 14-day moving average. It's trading, testing S3 short entry. Volume is below implication plan. The bias remains neutral, but the softness in PMI aligns with our S3 short thesis at the prior day high. However, the much higher impact ISM is coming out in 15 minutes. Yeah, I'm going to wait. I mean, look at these last two candles. There's just these 10-minute candles. See this massive wick to the downside, massive wick to the upside. Like, there's really not much you can do with this. Similar to, let's see what actually NQ was. NQ look like, it's a little bit stronger. But still, that first 10-minute bar, wick, wick. Now we have wick to the downside and then developing one. But there's also wick to the upside. So it's, whatever the movement's happening does not feel like it's got some strong conviction. Similar with, Dow is a little bit weaker. But again, we got this big wick up here. We had the strength out of the gate. But now it's showing, weakness, just unenthusiastic price action right now. And for a recap of those that might have just joined, they have like, 3 people or so not tons of people here, but yeah, first day, it's fine. I think this is an interesting order flow signal followed up by these absorbed buyers. We had at this level, so we had absorption of sellers. Then we had a 363 delta on the footprint, on the order flow. This, like, it brings over footprint data to these bars. And then we had 44% buyer delta, which is high. Usually can indicate reversal. And then we have this yellow dot here as well, which shows there's for the number of contracts exchanged, there were fewer participants, which means they were trading larger size, which means it's probably somebody with a bit more dry powder to take a larger position on ES. And we're coming up to that supply zone here again. Otherwise, it's pretty uneventful news so far. Or price action so far. Yeah, just being patient on this. There's not much to indicate it's worthwhile I get in, for me, in my trading style at least. Again, watching the overnight high up at 7574, which we see the VWAP plus 2 is hanging out at. We could see a pop or a head poke above the opening range high at, what is it at? It's a high day 7572 point, actually 7573 high day. So we could poke above there and do a little head fake and come back down, or we could just see buyers stepping in, since we have seen some strong buying on the cumulative delta in the full session and RTH session. So they're here. Looks like they want to play. They might be scooping up liquidity this whole time. Oh, yeah, look at this. That's interesting. So we had some strong buying deltas. Zoom in on this. And we got some remnants of a stacked buying volume imbalance. So buyers are attempting to step in here. But I'm not going to take a position right before news. Wow. And some really nice seller imbalance that's getting possibly eaten up. Nope, guess not. So this is, yeah, look at this. We have stacked buying volume imbalance. It's pretty much easier to read, I feel like, on this view here. You see all these cyan borders? Those are stacked buying volume imbalance followed by stacked seller imbalance. And we're moving price to the downside. Didn't see any buyer absorption up here, but definitely see that sellers are strong coming out here. Even on the 1000 volume bar, we see some sellers stepping in here. Got a stacked seller volume imbalance here at the POC. See, held right at VWAP. Right around the value area low on the developing RTH volume profile. Back into this area of supply. I mean, if you look at this bar, it's like the biggest doji ever. Like, what is this? Massive bear doji. That's the sign of indecision. But you look at the developing profile here, a little bit more of a bullish upside. Well, it's still relatively D-shaped, but we are certainly above the previous day point of control, but that's with the caveat that it was a banking holiday. And we're kind of in the opening range from Thursday. And my opening range is shown as a 60-minute opening range. Initial imbalance. I feel like everybody defines initial balance differently. I find it more clear just to define it as the 60-minute opening range. I used to play a 30, but it felt like that was a little less effective, especially when you have news coming out at the top of the hour, like today. Yeah, I think next time I'll definitely be playing some background music next time just to have an indication that something's happening. Even I'm getting bored listening to myself. Hey, look at this. We're the stair step back on the week of Monday, June 15th. We stair step down every day in the RTH session and then stepped down again the previous week before coming back up into this range again. So it's trying, but there's a lot of congestion here. Okay, 2 minutes for news. See if it injects a little conviction one way or another here. I honestly have no idea. I set up here for a potential short. I can mark that as a potential entry here for going short. Can I pre-run my short? 7576. 0.25. I'd be looking if I can get at that level. Probably the POC, right? Let's front run that. 7568. Now, I don't know if we're going to even have a short opportunity here. It feels like that's more, if I had to prognosticate, I would say long here, but we'll see. I'm observing that we got the absorbed sellers here. That doesn't mean anything. Let's wait for news to hit. Go from there. Okay, ISM is out. Let's give Joy the news. And we see Biden imbalance forming there. 8 o'clock news hit, 10 Eastern. Please review in market context. Okay, what's Joy got for us? Data is mixed, but generally leans hot. A sharp beat, directional bias, bullish, neutral. Sharp beat in the unemployment component. About 50, typically pressures the Fed towards higher for longer. Current market, brief spike, volume, strategy. Positive economic data, there's enough RTH liquidity to sustain a breakout right now. Okay. Accountability check, this scenario is not triggered. Prices oscillated right at this entry level, previous day high. High unemployment number gives a fundamental reason for a pullback if the market interprets it as a hawkish Fed signal. Are you watching the seller imbalance to confirm an entry, or are you sitting to scalp the news volatility? $7.565. So she's saying shorts now, potentially on the table. See the order flow says that. Not really strong conviction, to be honest, for me. Let's see what it does here. So we're trying to go with above the POC. But now I'm a little more inclined to place some weakness here on any upside move that gets rejected. And I see that right now here. Some potential absorbed buyers happening here. Not really feeling enthused, though, to make a trade. Pretty uneventful first day to stream. Okay, coming back down to VWAP. We did have some buyer absorption up here below that supply zone as we tested the developing RTH POC. But we are pretty much straight up profile pick. Profile. Oh, I see your question. Yeah, dummy trades. That's that is me. I'm gonna get a webcam going here. I just don't have a webcam right now because I built my computer and don't have a webcam. So I am looking for a webcam and a light so you can see that I'm real. So I will do that so people start observing that I'm actually a real person trading here. So that'll be the goal. Hopefully in the next week or two I get that stood up. I will say though that when I make like the thumbnails and whatnot with AI, I feel like it just kind of mangles the way I look sometimes when it makes the thumbnails. I'm not sure what it does, but it just looks a little, I don't know, everything's a little smoothed over or artificial. I can't really explain it. So looking forward to getting a webcam here. Okay, we're holding VWAP and the value area low, but again, it doesn't feel like a strong conviction to me. You may see that the delta, Q delta is mixed. It says diverging here, and then I see the cumulative, cumulative volume in total, just across RTH and full session, is over 10% below the 14-day look-back period. So there's just not a lot of fuel to work with for any type of trade. This might be good for a scalp if you're maybe scalping or nibbling off of the edges here. I see, for instance, on the volumetric, we have a stacked buying imbalance here at VWAP by the full session point of control. Again, though, not a strong conviction play. I don't think it even indicates necessarily any type of direction from order flow signals, at least. Man, I might be wrapping this session up early if we don't make any significant moves here in the next 23 minutes here by the first full session hour here. That looks like it might be a play worth taking, or at least a scenario lining up. I would probably call it. Okay, we see some buyers stepping in here. Look at this. Had a stacked buying imbalance there. Nice. See that on the bar chart as well. Stacked buying volume imbalance. Aligns with what you see here on the volumetric chart. Stacked buying volume imbalance. See on the developing volume profile, we're right at POC, whereas in the full session, we're above it. That's closer to VWAP. Oops. Look at the range on this. It is pretty abysmal. We've had 21 points of range in RTH. NQ, wait for NQ. Range is 232. It's like 50% below the normal range. So there's, you could say in that sense, we have some range left to move yet, right? We're possibly in a phase of accumulation right here before we make the move and get closer to our normal ATR range. So this depression on the range is maybe a good sign if you are willing to wait out the accumulation phase until we get to distribution. I feel like longs are nibbling at the edges for a move higher, but I don't have any strong signals to validate that, so I'm not going to take a position based on that hypothesis. There's not really strong enough signals showing that. And then we get like these kind of mixed signals, right? We had this stacked buyer volume balance, and now we have the stacked seller volume balance. We're getting over that, so that feels like a little more conviction. If we can get over this and hold the developing point of control, that could show strength to at least test the overnight high. Sometimes the best trades are the ones we didn't take. So far, that is 100% true for me today in this session. You feel like all you need is, well, like you just need Trump to say some wild ass thing and it's going to send things roaring. And Trump's speaking right now apparently, so who knows what could happen. All it takes for him is just to say one crazy thing and we'll get a impulsive move. Which direction, nobody knows. Overnight high. Where's it again for overnight high? Yep, get up here. Overnight high, test it. Plus V2, plus 2 in the VWAP. See some exhaustion prints. Absorb buyers. Sellers stepping in. That could be good times for going short. But otherwise, this is feels like a continuation of the Friday session. Ooh, look at this. Look at this. Hold the phone here. We got some actual interesting order flow signals here. We got absorbed sellers forming with a large seller delta on one volume, and we see 2 yellow dots. Bonk, bonk. Which means there's larger participants starting to take some interest here, so possibly. Okay. And you observe on the volumetric chart, we got absorbed sellers. Okay, so this feels like buyers are starting to make a move here. We're accumulating and possibly moving the price upwards. You're not seeing that in the volume though, profile. So I have this volume profile indicator that I built out. It shows this trailing print of where these areas were. So you see, for instance, the volume profile, RTH, POC was up here, then dropped down. We slowly migrate up. The value area low dropped down, kind of stabilized and is flat. Here it's kind of flat. But what you can say is that we are certainly above the bank holiday volume profile. So we are technically establishing value at a higher level. Part of me would almost entertain a pullback here. Again, for a quick scalp at this +1 VWAP where we had that absorbed sellers, strong buying volume imbalance there. Come to overnight high here. If we don't test that, but instead come down here, I might look at like really just one contract. It's like just a dumb trade. But if it pulls back, we see some sellers getting absorbed again. Take a quick scalp from the developing POC up to the overnight high. Might just move up here though. This might happen. Let's see. Not seeing any signals yet on the volumetric chart or on the bar chart of order flow indicating one party or the other. Okay, I'm going to take this alert off. Now we know we're here. We got 15 minutes left in the 60-minute opening hour. We have not touched the overnight high yet at 7574.75. Dun, dun, dun. Full session. Got a pretty balanced volume profile here. In the full session volume profile. Got a little bit of a tail down here. Okay, coming down here to an area I thought could be interesting for a long. It's getting close to it, but not seeing any order flow indicators that I'd want to get in on this. I feel like I'm missing on anything. Not that I want to get in just because I'm having FOMO. Ooh, look at this little flush of seller imbalance here. Right there. Move it down. Starting to get a little more frenetic here. Okay, there's not enough runway here to get, for me to take a scalp on this. I need that really to come down to the POC if I wanted to go long off of order flow signals. That was a bit premature. If I saw that type of price action with a wick through the POC and then this come back up, that would be nice to see for a long, but that's not what I saw. That happened pretty much right in this mitigated supply zone. Do my stop loss set up for a potential short, and given that the volume is so low, probably a stronger chance of us just kind of nibbling at the edges, but sometimes you get these low volume grinders to the upside. Okay, we got a yellow dot here forming. It's gone. Had some seller imbalances appearing here. Got this large seller delta here. Again, it's happening at a level I... Ooh, it's nice. Okay, let's see. Dun, dun, dun. Getting signals here for going long here. I'd like to see a seller absorption down here. And a little bit further down. Just get into this POC here with some absorbed sellers. And again, I'm kind of just looking at what I'm observing here. See this kind of line here, right at the POC where it's resisted, bump, resisted, bonk, resisted, bonk. And now we're kind of doing the same thing in reverse, right? It's coming down here, it's coming down here. I like to see a little flush and then rush with some either absorbed sellers or a seller balance that gets reclaimed. I think the order flow signals I want to see are happening a little more to the upside, higher price level that I want to work with. And look at the volumetric chart. We are seeing some larger delta orders here happening. Okay, well, we got this 194 delta. Now it's gone. We got this 148 seller delta from the previous bar. So you see somebody stepped in here, and if you look at the shape of the footprint, it is a P shape. So we get this node up here, up above, and then that tail down below. Usually this is a strong reversal signal if that is a delta of buyers, not sellers. So it's kind of opposite of what I'd want to see for a reversal signal. If the sellers up here, it means they just move price down. We're not actually trapping buyers up here, which is what can give a better, stronger movement with conviction. I mean, sellers getting trapped up there really doesn't, not really think, because if price is below where they entered, then it's just getting price pushed to the downside. Okay, we got about 10 minutes left in the 60-minute opening session. Nice little stacked seller, buyer imbalance there. Ooh, there we go. There we go. Okay. Now let's see what we got. We've cleared out that supply zone. We have a stacked buyer volume imbalance. I want to see some kind of absorption. We got this buyer delta here. Looks like it's forming a P shape. For now, that can change. So it's a developing bar, so I'm not going to make a trade based off of that. And we do have a B shape here with buyers stepping in. But again, this is all just in the same range for the last 30 minutes. Okay, we hit the level I wanted to hit. I'm not seeing any signals though. It's like nothing happening here. We got this one yellow dot here. I need to change that color of that dot so it's a little more distinct from my markings in the chart. Okay, here we go. Going above. Looks like this high, overnight high, might serve as, let's see if we're peeking ahead, peeking above and get stomped. It's a head fake, or are we actually going for it? We're in that Thursday opening range where we got stuffed. And take off that short position setup here. Show for long. We'll go overnight high 7.4. Okay, so now this is a potential long. 7.5, 7.2. 7.2.25. And targeting. Let's see, 2 to 1. We got this LVN up here. Maybe 80. I'll get a little more runway than that. We got the supply up here. We got this LVN, could cut right through this LVN. So maybe front run that to 84 for the first PT. Oh, we had a zero print back here. Look at that. Zero print and filled. Yeah, okay, look at this. Hit a zero print right here. See that yellow box. That's a zero print. Got filled. But now we have absorbed sellers, absorbed buyers rather. We have a yellow dot here as well. And see some buying happening here. If I get in a position here where this 2-to-1 ratio front runs the supply up here, I would be interested in taking a long if we have order flow signals that there's a either strong buying imbalance zone that pushes price upwards, or a strong seller imbalance zone that fails to move price up, or some absorbed sellers, or even a strong buyer delta or seller delta that fails to move price to the upside. Still not seeing any indications to get in yet. This might be one of these slow grind up days. Dun, 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 dun. Nothing's happening. What's look like an NQ? Oh, looks like Dow's going up. NQ's moving to the upside. It's like the indices are all kind of starting to show some enthusiasm to the upside. Right now, I want to see come down below here, have some kind of order flow signal that sellers are getting trapped or buyers are going to overwhelm sellers. And then I need this risk manager to show that my 2-to-1 ratio is going to at least get me my first profit target before that supply zone. Right now, I can't get into the 2-to-1 ratio before that supply zone. I want to take my first profit out before that. What's even over there? Let's see here. Okay, so we had, when was this formed? The supply is from July 2nd, around 8 o'clock Mountain, 10 o'clock Eastern. Now we got absorbed sellers here. A little wick there. But we're below that bar now. We had some stacked seller imbalance here. Really want to see more of a pullback. I mean, this value area high feels like we want to see a wick down to this area here, right? Both on the full session and the RTA session, we have the value area high there on the developing volume profile. Hey, dummy trades, yeah, I see your question around preventing from blowing an account. I mean, what I do is I set up my lockout mechanism in Tradevit so that if I have a losing day, I'm not blowing things up. And so I, for instance, I'm trading on a take profit trader account that has, I think it's a $25,000 buying power, but really the max loss on that is $1,500. So I think about it as a $1,500 account. And so if I divide that by 10 and figure I need to have 10 losing days to blow up an account at $150 each, like it's probably highly unlikely for me to do that. And so given that, I set inside Tradevit prop firm here my lockout at 150, and then have in my risk calculator each trade I'm allowed to take a max risk of $75. And so I have 2 full loss trades pretty much in the barrel, or in the chamber rather. Oh, there you go. Look at this. So that's kind of what I'm using. It takes a little bit more of a slower grind to do it that way instead of just kind of YOLOing it. But okay, this looks interesting right here. We got the opening range high put in. We got a zero print. Yeah, this looks really good actually up here. Look at this. Looks good for a potential move to the downside. We got massive exhaustion print here. So if this price comes back up here and fails to move above it, I would say we're going short here now. That's what I'm going to look for at least. We got 47% delta. Which means buyers were strong here but failed to move price up. Yeah, this looks really nice for a potential short. Although it's really crowded. And I think I would take my first PT at the value area. The value area high in the developing session. Let's see what happens here. Saw a stacked buying volume imbalance here. We got absorbed buyers still present. Oh, now we got some absorbed sellers happening. So I get some mixed signals. So my thought around this is a little less conviction, but if we get below the opening range high, after testing this area of buyer exhaustion, we could be good for a short, at least down to the value area high. Interesting that volume shows that buyers are primarily in control still. So there's apparently sellers still absorbing at a passive level. Okay. This is moving below the opening range high. See price holds down below that. I don't have a structural level or zone here to get short yet, so is it holding it? Tested. Failing to move above it, but they were looking kind of strong. Filled the zero print. See, that's cleared out. And see on the volume metric, this is looking like a different story here, but we still have a bit of a P shape here, which I think makes us still a valid order flow signal to go short if we get underneath the opening range high. See, we have more seller buying imbalance there. That's so we have strong buyers here, but they failed to move the price up. Man, things moving as slow as molasses today. Okay, we're down below. I'm gonna put 78.75. And stop 82. And 73 for profit target. See if this fills. It's below the opening range high. Oh, is it just going to go on me now? It's a nice looking P shape. This is a great reversal signal here. Got this P shape, buying delta here, buyer absorption. We got stacked buying volume balance, stacked buying volume balance. We have a buyer delta here. All these strong buyers failing to move price to the upside. We have not, so if we test, I'd like to see this hit, this entry hit before we test the value area high. If we test the value area high before my entry has hit my limit, then I'm going to take that off and reassess. Price moving up, got buying imbalance that formed there and dissipated. So buyers are trying to step up here. Good, 1 point away from the entry. Okay, we got absorbed buyers here now. This kind of changes the metric here for me a little bit because I wanted to see that coming up a little bit higher here. Not at this point. I don't really want to get short here. It feels like that stop loss is too big. If I put a stop loss at the area where the long is structurally invalid, which is above the high for the session. Okay, look on the volumetric. We got, here's a stacked buying volume balance here. So we got strong buyers at one point. We had buying absorption there. This is still, we have this. That's why I like trading with the 1000 bar chart. Okay, I can see those values baked in a little bit earlier because it's more of a granular chart data level than the volumetric. Let me take this long breakout alert off because I'm not sure if it's even valid more. I mean, I should check with Joy and see what she says, what her read is on this market here. Hey, Joy, we've had the opening hour now established. What's your read on the market? Opening hour review. Dun, 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 dun. Market clear signs of bullish resilience despite the hot ISM. Demolition Derby, it's nudging higher. Key level performance. I haven't taken any trades yet. I do observe that we have buyer exhaustion at the high day with absorbed buyers shown and some stacked buying volume imbalances at the high day that failed to move price higher. So I'm feeling like we have an opportunity to take a short down to the developing value area high at 7573 if we test that area up above again before testing the value area high. But if we test the value area high first, then I'm going to take that trade off the table. You feel like that's pretty much the only move I see here. I could take a long here at the overnight high hold, but I'm not seeing the absorbed buyers on here, and I'm just concerned about the absorption of buyers up above at the high day. Okay, let's see what she says. Sharp read in the tape. What does she say? Your observation by absorption at the high day is the definition of structural exhaustion signal. The fact that its buy imbalances fail to move price higher. Yeah. Mean reversion scale back to value is often the most high probability play left on the board. Evaluating the short scalp idea. Target. Entry logic we pop up to 7580 and see a repeat of that buyer exhaustion. You're right to avoid the long overnight high. Refining scenarios. Okay. Short scalp, high day exhaustion, 7579. Okay, so she thinks it's cool. If Joy thinks it's good, I guess it's good if we actually come up there. I'm going to be on for another 20 minutes, and then I'm going to shut things down at 11 Eastern because I'm not going to sit here and watch paint dry all day. For a minute in your primary window, trading is developed, it hit PT1 quickly. Table rule, you agree with the conditions. If we test, the rubber band has already snapped back and the reward for the short is gone. Take it off the table. Okay. Yeah, it's off the table. Damn. Okay, we tested the value area high on the developing and volume profile before testing the opening range high. So I feel like that reversion play is not as strong of a play now unless we see some really strong buying absorption or other exhaustion signals at the retest of the opening range high. But in that case, I would end up wanting to make a play then for a profit target to the developing point of control or VWAP. I see the developing point of control is at 7567 and VWAP is down at 7564. With a further continuation possibly down to VWAP at 7564. Correct structure read for the late. We test opening range high and see massive buyer absorption and suggest double top or failed. Counted value check, yeah. Okay, I'm going to put a price alert up here. I think now is a DTR on buyer exhaustion. And then on potential VWAP, 65. VWAP test. Reclaim POC. Okay, I got my price alert set now for the two moves that are valid potentially here in the next, what we got? 15 minutes. Oh, look at this. We got some strong seller absorption here. This actually is very interesting. Look at that. Nice little B shape on the footprint. With absorbed sellers as we tested the value area high, both on the developing and on the, let's ask Joy about this. Can you give me a read on what we just observed as we dip below the value area high? I see now we have absorbed sellers that formed, and we came out of the previous bars with some strong buying volume and balance to the upside that's moving price higher. Okay, Joey, what you got? Da, 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 da. Yeah, tape shifted. Seller absorption, buyer initiative, lift off, price aggressively lifted. Stack and balance at the techies read the classic absorption to initiative transition. The market tested the developing value high, found no further selling interest, and the aggressive buyers stepped in the squeeze. Strategic play this move significantly reduces the probability of successful failed breakout. The bulls just proved they can defend the value area high. If we head back to 75.81 now, that buyer exhaustion we saw earlier might not repeat. Those buyers might just have been reloading. Yeah, exactly. That's what it feels like, right? That felt like a reload, which means 75, 73 might be on the table, right? For a little dip down here. Yeah, that felt like a reload. Can you give me a little dip back down here just to test the value area high again? Or just going to cut right through it and just move back up? What you going to do? You'd one more little kind of higher put in here, right? 7573. Where is that? 7574. So we get here to come down here and test this. And I would target the that's this area up here. This is kind of juicy looking. 75, 72.25. I see something here. We got strong buying all along here. Right, the stacked buying volume imbalance at the overnight high. So we do 4 contracts, 5 for 3 contracts. Come on, we got a little LVN here. A little LVN at the value area high. A scalpy. I'm buying anything that looks like a bounce off of a pullback down to 29,985. You're buying down at 29,985. I see. Okay, kind of wicked down there, didn't it? Yeah, it's a good level to add if it shows order flow, buyer participation, or trapped sellers. Oh, this is a slow grind. Okay, I'm getting close to this level here. I might want to go long here. If see just a little something here. And we're showing some absorbed buyers here, but it's on a not fully developed footprint yet. We did have these stacked buying volume balances, so they were present. Buyers were there. We're right at the overnight high, value area high in the volume profile. Yeah, scalpy, that NQ is a little tougher because there's not much runway between the opening range high and the high of day. Here we go. Talking here. Not got the wrong 3 contracts. I see. Putting it on. Saw a stacked buying volume balance here. Before this, here, 7584. So I'm on for 3. 7584 is the first profit target. 7572.75 is my stop. Take this for 2 actually, since we got 3 contracts on. Eight four. What do you mean? What happened there? Damn it! I hit the wrong thing here. Don't know what I just did here. try this again. I'm on 3, 2, 7572.25, 7584. I see. I got this mixed up. That's why I got them backwards. Jeez. There we go. Okay, we're in long. Long 5. Cool. Scalpy, you're in long 2? Cool, me too. Ride or die. Let's do this. I'm front running the supply here at 7484. And then I'm going to take the final at front running this high of day. Up here, probably around 7598. Is that true? 759. Let's put 75988 actually. Just because 88, I have my alert for reversal at 91. So I'm gonna front run this a bit. Give a little runway here. That's for one contract. Okay, stop. 752. Limit. Send it. Okay. Okay, see what happens. I have $71 of risk on for hopefully 200 some dollars of reward. So over 2 to 1. And take the risk indicator off now. See what happens. One thing I'm not liking here is I see there's a seller delta here. So I want to get above that on the full session. And actually I see that on the developing session too. So that's not an awesome sign. But we have seen, okay, Q delta has changed. I didn't see what happened when I entered. You might have had a negative cumulative delta when I entered. It's flat on the 5-minute. And we got a cumulative volume is 20% below the 14-day moving average. This 517 seller delta is making me less enthusiastic about this entry now. Man, you took your first 2 off of that, right? You have like a really short run for your first profit target, Scalpy. Still haven't adopted that methodology yet, but you're in a lot more trades than I am per day. Added long 7 now. Okay. Here we go. Nice. Stacked buying volume balance. This should hold. See that hold. Great. Dun, 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 dun. Ooh, 500 buyer delta up here. This is looking very exhaustive right here. That's not a good look. This bar fails. Those are multiple signs of reversal here. We got a buyer delta volume profile. We got a large buyer delta here, and we have a buyer absorption. There's like 3 signals for shorts to get in here. Not liking that. I'm going to mitigate risk here and take that off if we come back down here because, yeah, put the break even, scratch this out because that's a sign of potential reversal. That's an ugly print at the top. I can always get back in this, right? Kind of in the protect my capital mode right now. Yep, scratch. I'll put that back on if I see a reason that this holds, but that was an ugly print up there. He took off a bunch. And it might go back up again. Maybe it took me out of my might get wicked out on that. But when you see the strong, this is like multiple different signals now for going short. Especially if we get below this 500 buyer delta, seller delta on the volume profile. If we get below this, that's kind of ugly. And it looks like buyers might hold this up, but now that we have this diverging cumulative delta here, and there's really low volume, I have less of an appetite for this. It's going. I don't know. You can see a double top reversal happening here, right? This is massive reversal signal here at the top. See that as well on the bar chart. Absorb buyers. We got buyer absorption volume profile. We have a strong seller delta here. We're failing to break above the opening range high. We have low volume, 20+% below the 14-day look back period. So I don't feel as comfortable in these scenarios where I have to kind of wait for things to grind out, especially when I'm seeing signals to go short now. You're accepting the risk, Scalpy. Yeah. If I didn't see these signals for a reversal, I'd stay in this, but at this point, I am just going to listen to what the market's telling me and hold off for now, which I could easily see going up without me, but I'm fine with that. If I had to make an argument to go long, I can see on this chart that we've had the value area high is migrated up. The point of control has migrated up. So I guess that's the, and you can see as well that we've had some seller absorption here with a really beautiful B shape. But then if I can point out to the very opposite of a very beautiful P shape with absorbed buyers and this buyer delta at the volume profile, yep, we got strong buyers here on the cumulative delta. So they're present. But with volume so low, it's like it's hard to say if they can actually have enough volume to push through this. Right now we see these deltas are growing on both of the deltas on the volume profile. It's almost 9 o'clock here, so I might just call this here. It might run up. It might just be one of those days where it grinds up and hits my profit targets. But I'd rather manage my risk intelligently. Especially on a day like this with low volume. This isn't like really peak conditions to be trading for me. Okay, we're making our way past this. So buyers might be here. Okay, that's my alarm to call it. We'll see how this next bar handles this, but we might be moving up. You feel like this is moving so slow motion as well. It's hard to say, like, yeah, we now cleared this buyer delta at the opening range high and that seller delta. But in this slow grind condition, I feel like it doesn't take much volume to move the market. And I don't like being in a low volume market. It's too easy to get caught in a swinging big dick who wants to do something. Okay, so we're holding the opening range high. Yeah, I'm going to call this. Whoever has a great day, stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow.